Let's think for a few minutes about data sources and some of the related technologies. So just thinking about data, like where are all of these data coming from? And there are many, many different ways you can think about this. One could be from crowdsourcing platforms. And that could be even people uploading information. You're out there asking people to solve problems, and they are actually giving you their input. So that's some form of data collection going on there. There can also be what you might call passive crowdsourcing information, such as the location data of a person who wants to sign up. For example, in a navigation map. Someone's using a navigation map on their smartphone, that's actually sending a lot of information about where they are, what they're doing, and so forth. Speaking of sensors, typically we'll have the Internet of Things sensors. We'll talk about that more in a minute. All different kinds of sensors, wearable devices, edge computing devices, and so forth. These are all very, very important sources of data. That includes self-driving vehicles. I don't think of that as a separate category because, as I've mentioned already, cars themselves, connected cars, and self-driving cars are surrounded with sensors, and they can give off a lot of very interesting data that could be useful for companies. Another one is automation or robotics, Industry 4.0. So in a factory or a producer context, you could have different robotic devices that then turn around and give off data that you can then use to optimize your factory. Reality Plus, augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse. Now, a lot of people think about these as recipients of data, but they could also be very interesting sources of data as well. For example, what people do in the metaverse, what they work on could be interesting for business opportunities. Even knowing where a person is looking on the screen could be useful for different ways of setting up new products and services. And finally, I mentioned already passive crowdsourcing, but surveillance and biometrics could be a source of information and data. So as I mentioned, the Internet of Things is probably one of the most important sources of data. So what exactly is the Internet of Things? The Internet of Things refers to all the different devices, and there are billions of them out there already, that are or can be connected to the internet. So it's not just a sensor, because a sensor could be a standalone sensor. You could have a thermometer sitting in the middle of nowhere, and you have to walk up to it to read it. So what we need is the sensor plus the connectivity to the internet or indeed another network. So it's called the Internet of Things because in the past, there was always a person behind every internet connection, usually via a computer. Usually we exclude computers and occasionally smartphones from the realm of IoT devices because they're connected with a person, even if they have sensors. Now, we have a situation where the devices or the things could be connected to the internet or other networks, and they could communicate with each other. So they could communicate with other devices as well as people. And so, the famous quote by Carolyn Gorski was, "It doesn't stop at a screen." IoT doesn't stop at a screen. It could be machine-to-machine communication. And this adds a level of digital intelligence to formerly dumb devices. Just to give some concrete examples of different kinds of IoT sensors, this is more oriented toward the consumer domain. There are many, many in the factory, smart factory, and so forth. If you think about it, even in your house, there are many, many sensors. And there's things controlling your thermostat. There are things controlling your entertainment system, and so forth. And these eventually are going to be connected one way or another. Then, your wearable devices that you use for sports and fitness. There's your commuting. There's your navigation. All of the things happening in your office, even though that's more of a business-to-business application, and so forth. So there are many, many examples of IoT that are currently in use, even in the consumer space, even if we think that for the most part, IoT is used in the business-to-business or commercial area for producers. Bye.